Imagine a world where the United States and Canada weren't just neighbors, but something more. Two nations bound so closely that their borders felt almost invisible. While that might sound far-fetched, a massive $6.4 billion project could bring them one step closer. Spanning the Detroit River, the Gordie Howe International Bridge is set to open later this year, linking Detroit, Michigan and Windsor, Ontario. Designed to handle increasing trade and traffic, this bridge could reshape the economic and political dynamics between the two countries. But could it also signal a deeper shift toward unity? In this video, we'll explore the true significance of this monumental structure and what it could mean for the future of U.S.-Canada relations. Spanning the Detroit River, the Gordie Howe International Bridge is set to redefine the busiest trade corridor between the United States and Canada. This massive infrastructure project isn't just about easing congestion, it could symbolize an even deeper connection between the two nations. Designed by architect Erik Behrens, the bridge will be a feat of engineering, featuring two towering A-shaped pylons, each soaring 220 meters into the sky. A network of 216 steel cables will support the deck, creating the longest cable-stayed bridge in North America, stretching 2.5 kilometers in total with a main span of 853 meters. It will be an impressive addition to the region's landscape. This 6-lane bridge will offer a long-overdue alternative to the aging Ambassador Bridge, which has been the primary crossing between Detroit and Windsor since 1929. In addition to vehicle lanes, it will also include a dedicated path for pedestrians and cyclists, something unheard of in a major U.S.-Canada border crossing. As cross-border traffic is expected to grow from 18,500 vehicles per day in 2016 to an estimated 26,500 by 2025, this new bridge is designed to keep up with demand. But beyond its practical benefits, could this project hint at something more? Some speculate that it represents a step toward greater economic and social integration between the two countries. Trade between the U.S. and Canada is staggering, with around $3.6 billion worth of goods and services flowing across the border daily. Out of the more than 100 land crossings linking the two nations, the Detroit-Windsor corridor is by far the busiest, handling nearly a third of all trade. At its heart is the Ambassador Bridge, a 1.4-mile structure that has long been the workhorse of North American commerce. But despite its historical significance, the bridge has become a bottleneck. The Ambassador Bridge is privately owned, and many argue that its toll revenue isn't reinvested into improving the region's infrastructure. This has fueled decades of frustration among local residents and businesses who have been calling for an alternative. Capacity is another major issue. With only 4 lanes, the bridge struggles to handle the daily flow of up to 10,000 trucks, leading to frequent congestion. The only alternative, the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel, can't accommodate large commercial vehicles, making the Ambassador Bridge the sole option for most heavy truck traffic. With the Ambassador Bridge now over 90 years old and struggling to keep up, the Gordie Howe International Bridge is a much-needed solution. It will provide the additional capacity required for growing trade, improve traffic flow, and reduce delays at the border. But its significance may go beyond infrastructure. For some, it represents a future where the division between the US and Canada becomes less distinct. A bridge not just of steel and concrete, but of deeper economic and political ties. But how did it all start? In the early 2000s, Canada and the United States, along with Michigan and Ontario's transportation departments, laid out an ambitious plan to build a massive new bridge connecting Detroit and Windsor. Now, decades later, that vision is becoming a reality. The Gordie Howe International Bridge will be the longest cable-stayed bridge in North America, stretching 2.5 kilometers across the Detroit River. With 6 lanes for vehicles and a dedicated path for cyclists and pedestrians, It promises to be a game-changer for cross-border travel. Located just 3 kilometers from the Ambassador Bridge, its arrival is set to create a new dynamic between the two crossings. For locals and truckers alike, the competition is welcome, offering a long-overdue alternative to the congestion that has plagued the Ambassador Bridge for years. But what's even more surprising, the entire $6.4 billion project is being financed by the Canadian government. That means every toll collected will flow back into Canada's economy, with no toll booths on the US side. The project is overseen by the Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority, a Canadian federal agency, ensuring that everything from land acquisition to construction remains under Canadian control. Construction officially broke ground in 2018, with an original completion target of 2024. But like many large-scale projects, unforeseen challenges, most notably the COVID-19 pandemic, pushed the timeline back. Now, the bridge is expected to open in 2025. Despite the setbacks, progress has been steady. In June 2024, the bridge reached a major milestone when workers from both sides of the border connected the two halves of the deck over the Detroit River. To mark the moment, a ceremony was held where workers signed the final segment and planted an evergreen tree in the center, symbolizing the cooperation that made the project possible. Once operational, the Gordie Howe Bridge will serve an estimated 26,500 vehicles per day, easing the heavy traffic burden on the Ambassador Bridge. It won't just be a crucial trade route, it will be a symbol of modern connectivity and economic strength. But could it also represent something more? Some believe projects like this hint at an increasingly unified future, where the physical and economic divides between Canada and the US continue to shrink. Interestingly, this isn't the only major cross-border bridge nearing completion. In South America, a similar project, the Brazil-Paraguay Integration Bridge, is taking shape over the Paraná River. Though much smaller at 760 meters long, it serves a comparable purpose. Designed to relieve the overburdened Friendship Bridge, it will create a more efficient link between Brazil's Foz do Iguaçu and Paraguay. Both bridges may differ in scale, but their impact is similar, boosting trade, easing congestion, and strengthening ties between neighboring nations. The significance of these projects goes beyond engineering. They're about connectivity, about making it easier for people and goods to move across borders that once felt more rigid. Whether in North or South America, bridges like these don't just link two sides of a river. They link economies, cultures, and perhaps futures that are more intertwined than we realize. While the Gordie Howe International Bridge promises to reshape travel and trade between Detroit and Windsor, getting it built hasn't been easy. For years, the project faced fierce opposition, most notably from Manuel Maroon, the billionaire owner of the Ambassador Bridge. As the sole operator of the busiest border crossing between the US and Canada, Maroon saw the new bridge as a direct threat to his business and fought to stop it at every turn. In 2010, he sued both the Canadian and Michigan governments, arguing that the new bridge violated his rights to expand the Ambassador Bridge. When that failed, he took his fight to the public, spending $30 million on a proposed constitutional amendment that would require Michigan voters to approve any new bridge construction. But the people rejected it, and the project moved forward. Even after Maroon's passing in 2020, his family continued the legal battle, trying to delay or halt construction. Despite their efforts, the bridge is now nearly complete, and soon the region will have a second major crossing. With the bridge now physically connected on both sides, its impact is undeniable. It will reduce congestion, improve trade routes, and create new opportunities for economic growth in both Detroit and Windsor. But beyond traffic and commerce, Some see the bridge as a symbol of something bigger, a step toward even closer ties between Canada and the US. As trade and travel become more seamless, could this project signal a future where the two nations move toward deeper cooperation? That's all for today. What are your thoughts? Tell us in the comments below, and thanks for tuning in.